Beth Allgood is the U.S. Director of IFAW and founder of One Nature. She spoke about the connections between well-being, wildlife, and tourism in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic at the Happiness Roundtable 2020.
Thanks everybody for joining. It's really exciting to see progress moving away from measuring GDP as a proxy for happiness as more and more countries are looking at broader well-being for guiding policies for their budgets and for practices. Unfortunately, other species on the planet aren't included in these well-being measures, but we wouldn't survive and we definitely wouldn't thrive without other species and our shared healthy planet. So COVID-19 has exposed the consequences of our exploitation of the natural world and has allowed us to see the cracks in our current system in vivid detail. I think we can all agree on that. One of these cracks is that the economic value of wildlife has been emphasized over all other values as a reason to preserve it. And this has led to destructive and exploitative policies and activities at the global scale and at the local scale. And this has resulted in this extinction crisis and really sparked this global pandemic. At the community level, there have been many examples where communities around the world have been incentivized to protect species because of the economic value of them. And this current tourism crisis in particular has left gaping holes in wildlife tourism economies, especially in the economically poor but biodiverse rich nations. So the question that comes up in the short term, how can these communities move forward when the economic value of these species and places has collapsed, and what will happen to wildlife and habitats while these communities grapple with these short-term solutions? So my hope and vision is that now local and global communities can take the time, space, and have the resources they need to rethink and reflect on the true values of nature and wildlife based on the broader understanding of happiness and well-being that all of the research has shown, and that these communities can assess their values holistically and use that assessment to plan new community development activities that enhance their well-being, are consistent with their cultural and spiritual connections to their community and to wildlife and nature, and that are sustainable over time, including becoming more resilient to economic and climate shocks in the future, which we all know is necessary. At a global level, the international community can take the opportunity to reassess their values around wildlife and wild places, including those for which these communities are the stewards, and agree to bear some of the economic costs rather than continue reaping the economic benefits of exploitation of these resources. To loop it back to the policies at the global level, this re-examination would allow us to include values of biodiversity into well-being policy metrics as well, which then would directly support communities with the right policy environment that would support people, animals, and the planet to flourish in the long term. If we take this opportunity, then in our new post-COVID reality, I think that we can value well-being for all beings, and that will reflect these values in our policies at all levels and in our practices in our lives, in our daily lives, and in the communities that live closest to wildlife. And we can find a way to care for everything on Earth as if it were a piece of us and as if it affected our well-being and happiness, because it does. So there we are.